I think where interest rates go is going to have a strong and powerful influence on what happens to equities.
Yeah.
It's a trade-off. You know, it's an either-or.
Where does your money make the most sense?
Well, yeah, where do you get the return on your money? People forget the ultimate reason you buy a stock is to get a dividend, to get income on your money.
Yeah, but if
I know Warren Buffett.
Ken, if the economy starts...
Actually, you made the same argument you're making right now the other day, just in terms of general investors.
I mean, if I can only know one thing, tell me where interest rates are going.
Yeah, but there's two things that go into a stock price. Earnings is one, and the multiple is the other. So interest rates go up if it means the economy is really cranking and companies' earnings are going up, then that can offset some of the interest rate increase. That's why if it goes up for a good reason, you don't want rates to stay at zero forever, do you?
No, hold it. The worst thing in the world for us is the fact that rates have been kept down too low.
Okay, well, make up your mind then.
Huh?
So then if it does get, the economy starts going and rates go up for good reason, doesn't necessarily mean that stocks go down.
No, they won't, one way or the other. They'll either go down or they won't go up as much.
Okay.
Yeah, the valuation might go down, but earnings
if earnings go up, then you can...
Look,
that's the age-old argument. This is like...
No, but that's the basic thing here. People invest to get a return on their money.
I guess the question is the tipping point 4% for long rates? Is it 5%? Is it 6%? And that's where... And
there's a lot of stocks that don't even pay a dividend. And you're buying them for future growth. So it's not just you can't just use the dividend model in evaluating a stock price.
Interest rates go up 200 basis points. You're rating $400 billion a year.
Well, that's going to be a problem. Right.
Yes.
That's the thing that we have to start focusing on. There's a ticking time bomb here. And this is what Stanley Druckenmiller, one of the things, he's saying, hey, wait a minute, you know, at some point we've got to pay the price for this joy we've had.
Well, let me ask you a question about that. By the way, Mike Santelli, thank you for that. Here's a guy, you've called me a commie before. I think you think this guy's a commie, too.
I'm only kidding you.
I know, but this guy...
Please don't go home feeling hurt.
No, I'm not going to feel hurt.
More of a socialist.
I'm not going to feel hurt. But
these liberals have hurt.
No, it's more socialism, not communism.
No, I want to ask you, actually, there is a column today, which I imagine you will disagree with, in the paper by Paul Krugman. And I actually want to ask you...
I would never... He's never been right, for God's sakes.
Okay, so hold on. He makes an argument today about the tax cuts and how $6 billion of the tax cuts, happily, has gone into the pockets of employees in the form of bonuses and higher wages. But he makes the point that $170 billion is going into buybacks, as opposed to investments in capital spending and other things. What do you make of that, and what should we do about it?
All right, the headline, Home Depot is buying $4 billion worth of stock back. Guess what? For the last 10 years, we've been buying back $4 billion worth of stock. It's when you see it as an incident, isolated, that's the correlation. Look, if Paul Krugman didn't have the Times, nobody would give a hoot about what he says. He's been wrong. He's been wrong.
Right. About the internet. That's going to fade away in 2005.
Look,
he's angry.
Look, let's not make this personal.
You brought him up. I didn't.
But it was an interesting piece today, and the reason I wanted to bring it up was because there's a question about how the tax cut is going to eventually trickle its way into the economy and what it's going to ultimately do to growth or not in this economy.
It's going to help growth. Like it or not, it's going to help growth.
I like it. I hope.
Home Depot and Lowe's too, and a lot of people, hey, we're sharing the goodies. We're sharing them. And we did it quick. This is important because guess what? People don't get it. I am as successful as I am for one reason and one reason alone. Those 400,000 kids that put an apron on every single day. The difference in us and Lowe's, it's easy. Our people. These wonderful kids that work crazy hours and put up with all kinds of grief. And if you don't take care of your people, I'm going back to Jack Welch. Jack was maniacal about his people, taking care of them, not just paying them, but respecting them and rewarding them and telling them what a good job they're doing. I hope all 400,000 kids are listening to this show this morning so they can know my gratitude for what they do for this company. They're it. So a smart businessman, an enlightened businessman, takes care of his people. And we will. We've never paid anybody minimum wage in our entire history. Never once. It's not a disconnect. We are as successful as we are largely because of those kids. I call them kids because they're under 82, they're a kid.
what do you think is going to happen to wage growth in this country? If we had this conversation, if you came back here and we're sitting here together in a year, what's it going to look like?
There's 80,000 jobs in this city right now crying for somebody to come forward at about $70,000 a year of income. We've got to, what you want the dark secret? What are we going to do about educating these kids in public schools to make them, put them in a position where they can read and they can count and they can write? We've got a serious social issue here, but guess what? Back the other side of your argument about guns, the school teachers. Let's call it for what it is. Quality of instruction has gone down. In the 8 years Obama was president, he wanted, to me, if he wanted to be the president, he just said, I'm making education my #1 issue. #1. What's happened? The quality of education has eroded further in the 8 years he was president.
We got a match.
You've been a supporter of President Trump. Have you seen anything on the education side yet?
No, but I'm optimistic that Betsy DeVos is going to do things, okay? I was optimistic about Duncan, too. Duncan was a good man.
Arnie did,
really
yeah.
good man. And by the way, yeah, Arnie Duncan. Look, we've got a real issue in America. We've got to help these kids get qualified to take advantage of the opportunities because, as I think...
I'm not disagreeing. I'm just curious whether you've seen anything that Betsy DeVos or anybody else has done in this administration that would suggest that charter schools, which you've supported, and other efforts are going to be materially improved in any meaningful way. It's that conversation, frankly, oddly enough, we have not had over the past 12 months.
Well, let me say this to you. I wish there was more of a focus on education by the president and by his administration. I wish that. Okay, why? I know the importance of my public school education in my later life. I'm only here today because I came from a wonderful school district, Roslyn out in Long Island. The parents were involved. The parents demanded results from the kids, from the teachers of the kids. We have, Joe, this is the other side of the gun argument, in my opinion. There are social issues that are going to be impactful going down the road for a long time. When a kid gets a high school diploma and is performing at the 4th grade level or the 5th grade level, something's wrong.
Right. In Davos, when I talked to Trump, I said, let's say that you're effective in getting faster growth, which gives the federal government more revenues. How do you address income inequality in terms of education? How do you start to try to narrow that gap? And he didn't have a long, detailed answer, but it had to do with matching the skills gap in vocational schools and preparing kids that may not, French Renaissance poetry may not, in a college setting, may not be what we need anymore. It might be coding, it might be technology, it might be things that to match what the education is with the jobs that are going to be around, the high-paying jobs.
Well, that's the other thing. College is not for everybody. And I think we're putting kids in a position, you do this, you go to college, the world is yours. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
I think trade schools, we have a crying need.
Let me ask you, by the way, about that, and actually another issue came up in Davos, because Accenture was talking about it, the idea of reskilling workers, and actually given the tax cuts and the amount of money that people now have, are they going to use some of that money to invest in reskilling? And frankly, if we're being honest, the numbers are de minimis on the reskilling piece.
You know what? We can't make people be what they don't want to be or aren't interested in being. But if a kid came to me, and I've said to all of them, they're coming to me now about Wall Street, and I said the Wall Street game is over for all intents and purposes. More electronic, less hands. Go out and go to work for a company and learn the business. Learn what drives a customer. Learn about cost. Learn about margins. Learn about inventory turn. Learn the basics of a business. And then you got something to sell. But I think right now, we got to change the focus in America on education and secondarily on saying to a kid, it isn't such a bad thing to be a plumber or a carpenter or an electrician.
Right.
An apprentice kid that goes into the Ornamental Iron Workers Union in New York City today, $44 an hour starting pay. Okay, so he works 7 hours, $300 a day, $1,500 a week. Let's say he works 8 months a year. He's making over 40 grand a year. That's a good start. And that's as an apprentice.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.